Canada's immigration system is obviously broken. In the year 2023, when we only had around 220,000 new housing starts, the Liberal government saw fit to bring in 1.3 million new people into the country as students, temporary foreign workers, and new permanent residences. That is crazy. A country cannot survive with this out of balance ratio between new housing and new people. Plus, our country has no obligation to be increasing our population by 2% a year with a lot of people who really don't want to be here outside the fact that we tricked them by pretending that there was a bunch of benefits you could get if you showed up here. When they do show up here, they're splitting half a basement suite with five other people because the best you can get is a minimum wage job. A minimum wage job you're only getting because the government subsidizes your wages while a domestic worker, especially teenagers, don't get that job because the employer would have to have paid full price for you. It is a horrible system, and the liberals know it. The problem is that the liberals' ideology doesn't allow them to directly acknowledge that immigration is a problem. So while they'll cut student rates and temporary foreign worker rates a little bit, they don't want to touch new PRs. We brought in 500,000 new permanent residences in 2023. That's out of control. We obviously are not implementing the point system we had under Harper. We're not bringing in people because they're engineers or they have a lot of wealth or they are like, needed in a particular sector. We're just bringing in warm bodies. And really, it's because Justin Trudeau and the Liberals want the GDP to keep going up. And if you just bring in people from absolutely anywhere, the GDP will go up because they will add small bits of productivity here and there, and they have an inherent amount of money that comes with them into the country, even if it's as low as just a few $100s. That's why our per capita wealth goes down year by year, but our just raw GDP goes up. I don't care about the raw GDP. India and China both have a higher GDP than Canada, but they get that off the backs of having more than 1 billion people who live in each of those two countries. Their actual per capita wealth is terrible because the government over-regulates so much that all the wealth tends to be concentrated in small sectors among a few small groups of people who are actually able to work and don't just work subsistence jobs so they can survive. And it's not Canada's job to then bring in those countries' people that they're not helping, that they're not creating jobs for, into our country and giving them the jobs of other people. And these aren't jobs that Canadians aren't willing to work because the businesses would have never hired these temporary foreign workers if, again, they weren't being given $3.50 per hour to employ this person. It's utterly ridiculous. And oftentimes, because they're temporary foreign workers and they're oftentimes overstaying their visas, a business or a person can just underpay them and they can't complain because if they complain, they would get deported. Or at least they should get deported. But now our immigration minister, Marc Miller, I think is his name, or Mark Holland, is one of these guys. I think it's Miller, that they're not even deporting convicted criminals. Five-time convicted criminals are being protected by the Liberal government. And I think that nobody else could say this better than Liberal MP turned independent Kevin Vuong, who went after Marc Miller for having not the moral or logical courage to actually get this person out of the country who should have never been here in the first place.
The minister personally intervenes to stop the deportation of a five-time convicted person who boasted, Madam Speaker, about $170,000 US in foreign money to fund illegal blockades of roads, bridges, and highways in BC's lower mainland. At a time when the immigration system is leaking like a sieve, where literal terrorists are being granted citizenship after taking part in ISIS terror videos, dismembering the bodies of people they murdered. This is what the minister thinks deserves his intervention. What's the criteria? Because thousands upon thousands of applicants would love to know. Or is there a new Liberal two-tier immigration policy? Does this new Liberal policy have a limit on how many criminal convictions is too many? Clearly 5 criminal convictions is no problem for this minister. And Madam Speaker, it's no wonder that this government has been such a doormat to foreign interference when people who boast about being foreign funded as they block key road, bridge, and other infrastructure are saved from deportation. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I'm going to ask my question again. Now that the parliamentary secretary understands what I'm asking, was the minister's intervention intended to make a mockery of our legal and immigration systems, or was this intervention politically motivated to get a few more votes? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
This clip did not include the answer to his question because there was no answer, because liberals never they never answer any of the questions asked to them in the House of Commons. It's ridiculous. But Kevin Vuong, he's currently an independent representing the Toronto riding of Spadina-Fort York, technically elected as a liberal and then tossed out of caucus by Justin Trudeau over complete nonsense. Really, he was thrown out because Justin Trudeau has a lot of allegations of mistreating women and other people, both in his caucus as well as before he was in politics. So when Kevin had a BS story sort of appear on him, Justin Trudeau basically sacrificed him in order to save his own reputation as being a feminist or whatever. But Kevin Vuong should absolutely be added to the Conservative Party's caucus. This man is clearly a conservative who probably just ran for the Liberals in Toronto because before this year, there was no chance you could even get above maybe 20% in the city of Toronto if you ran for them. I think he would be a great addition to caucus. He is conservative on a spectrum of issues. He has been very principled on foreign interference. The communist Chinese government hates his guts, which I think is a great reason to add him. So not trying to turn this too much into an infomercial of Kevin Vuong, but I think he is an absolute pit bull on a lot of these issues, like immigration. He doesn't fear the liberal media or the Liberal Party attacking him back, and he just goes for the jugular on how incompetent these guys are. And he's right. We've been literally letting ISIS terrorists into Canada and granting them citizenships. Why? What, did they deserve a 17th chance? What did, they only beheaded one person on camera. What is going on? And it really just comes down to probably a lot of these liberals hate the country. They just have contempt for the country. And I guess contempt isn't hatred. It's worse than hatred. Hatred is like the liberals really think of Canadians and they viscerally hate them. Contempt is that they don't even think about us. They don't care how we're doing or how their actions affect us because we're not even a dot in their minds to consider. We're just a speck of absolute nothingness. At least hatred means they think about you. Contempt means they hate you so much they don't even bother putting a thought to you in their day-to-day lives. Well, anyways, sorry if this video is more of a rant, but I thought that was a great clip, a great question from Kevin Vuong, and I really wanted to highlight it because I think he distilled into a minute and a half just what the heck is wrong with Canada's current immigration system. If you guys want to support the show, you can donate in the Give, Send, Go link in the description of this video below. But if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do subscribe. Hit the link, the like button and the notification bell. Do all that great YouTube stuff. I am absolutely terrible at reminding everyone about it. I always say it at the very end of the video when only a minority of people are still going to watch because they now know I'm just going into my rambling section at the end where I tell you about all the things you can click around on the video. Anyways, see you guys later. Bye.